Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, Parliament approved some $750 million loan after the minorities softened their stand. Now, the loan went through a process. In fact, the debate in Parliament played out in many ways, with the minority initially raising questions about the terms of the loan. Let me welcome Dr. Rashid Rahman. He is the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Doc, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Alfred.
Great. Now, I want to show you the various projects, the road project that this $750 million loan requested by the finance minister, which has which has been approved by Parliament, is going to be used for. I'll show it to you right now on the screen. These are the various road projects. Take a look at this. That's the Afri-Exim Bank facility, $750 million. First is the Ofankor Nsuam Road, $200 million. Ejiso Konongo Road, $75 million. The completion of the Nsuam Apeja Road project, $10 million. Swame, the Swame Interchange, and the local road network project. The emphasis on this is because of what we saw this week with the Member of Parliament for Swame, who is the majority leader, being pelted with sachet water by the constituents because of this particular interchange and the promise to construct it. The contractor abandoned site because he said there was a lack of bitumen. But for very interesting reasons, after the youth went on demonstration, the next day the contractor was there. He found bitumen and started working. $47 million. And completion of the Flower Pot Interchange, Legon Accra, $35 million is in there. Then you have the next set of roads, completion of Sofo Line Interchange, $35 million, construction of Kwabenya Peduasi Road Project, Government of Ghana counterpart funding of $10 million, the completion of Eastern Corridor, 5 and 6, $70 million, completion of Enchikrom Adeso Road Project, $98 million, and then you have the purchase of rolling stock and spare parts, $30 million, and then the construction of stadia infrastructure for the All-African Games as well, $140 million. That's the total of the $750 million, that loan that has been approved by Parliament, and the projects that's going to be used for. I detailed this so that you know and see the money that and what it's going to be used for, because it's a loan. We're all going to pay for it. We need to see the project is going to finance. But there's a $250 million component that members of Parliament, in fact, especially on the minority side, say they do not see through this one because of the terms of the loan and then also how expensive it is to the Ghanaian people. The Honorable Ketegan is a member of the Finance Committee as well, so bring him in on this one. What are the terms of this 250 and what led to the approval of, for instance, the 750 that you approved in Parliament this week?
Thank you very much. Let's just roll back a bit on how this 750 came about. In the last budget, that is the budget read in November of last year for 2022, we were told that we will have a deficit in nominal terms, about 37 billion. You recollect, the revenue was supposed to be around 100 billion.
That's right.
And then the expenditure was about 137. Yeah. So the difference is what is your deficit, which need to be funded.
But this time the deficit will actually go up.
Yeah, we'll go up. We'll know in the next few days when the media review is done, because obviously the expenditure is going up, the revenue is not coming in. So, yeah. But so there is a funding mix in terms of funding your deficit, and that is with domestic loans and foreign loans. So we were to look for 27 billion in domestic to fund the deficit. So you have a 10 billion which is supposed to come from outside. In that 10 billion, you have 750 million that should be coming from outside. By outside, I mean we're looking for hard currency, in US dollars. So that is how the 750 million that was presented to us came about. The 250 million is not in the budget. That's to start off with. So basically,
the $250 million That loan facility is not in the budget.
It's not in the budget. It's not been provided for, because before a government decide that we are going to need this money, borrow this money to fund the deficit, which they used to do in the past with Euro bonds and all that. They would tell us that we'll be doing this amount of Euro bond. Obviously, we cannot do any Euro bond this year because of the situation. So they are looking for, some other loans that are foreign in nature, coming from somewhere, syndicated and all that. So the 750 is supposed to be coming from Afrexim Bank. The 250 is coming from a syndicated, that's quite a few banks, South Africa and all that. So basically, for me, the issue is the 250 itself is not a legitimate loan because it's not in the budget. We have not been told. What the finance minister should do is probably when you come to the media review to tell us that, look, we still need some money to fund certain things. Therefore, we are going to be looking for 250 million to do that. I'm sure that's what they're going to do. And then they will represent it.
I see. But as of now, there is no document
that supports
this 250 million.
We should approve $250 million for the government. So the 750 was approved, though there were issues initially, but was approved eventually, which made it look like the minority did not want it. The minority didn't say they didn't want it, but we wanted certain things to be addressed. Okay? So that is why we eventually... What
were the issues that you wanted addressed, which eventually led to you approving?
To have a clear visibility on what that money was going to be used for. Because obviously in the situation that we are in, and that is what made us ask for a detailed list or breakdown of the project that the money,
just showed.
That the money was going to do. So upon getting that, but there's also another reason why we approved that. We approved that money, and I don't know, that is a bit and then in a way too doesn't sit well with me. But so that's basically the premise for the 250 and the 750.
But which aspect doesn't sit well with you?
Well, the aspect that doesn't sit well with me is that when I look at the whole situation now, as the economy stands, the reason that we went to the IMF, as some of us could see that IMF was inevitable, whether we get yield levy or not, was to do with the whole balance of payment situation, which has not improved. In fact, it is getting worse. And then also the ability to be able to service our debt and to pay salary. So when you look at what has been presented to us, some things are going to, in fact, some of the things you put out there has already been funded. Like there's a funding component to it. They found either the money hasn't arrived or whatever reason, but it's been budgeted for.
I see.
Okay, so
I see. Which ones are you talking about?
Some projects there.
So there is a Ofankonswam, Ejisu Konongo.
Two of the projects, I'm quite sure.
Apeja Road project. Swame interchange, completion of Flower Pot interchange, Legon.
I think the Flower Pot, for instance, all these have budget to it. And it's not, those projects did not start today. The project is already ongoing.
Yes.
And there's money being budgeted for those projects.
There's some work we can see going on at the Flower Pot.
But they are saying that the money hasn't come in. So they are substituting this money to do that project. And when the money comes in, I don't know who will be following that, they will put the money back where it belongs. Okay? But look at the picture. I'm telling you that this money you see here, when I look at the situation now, a lot of the money, the 750, is not going to end up in any of these projects.
Why do you say so?
Because if you look at the situation, if you break the problem we have at the moment in terms of our liquidity challenges that we have in the system, the problem at the moment is to do with balance of payment. Our reserves have gone down, and they played a trick on us by reporting some reserves, and then later on the chairman of the finance committee came to tell us that there was an error.
Yes, so he says that the reserves of 3 billion, reducing from 9 billion to 3 billion, was an error.
Yeah.
In fact, that it actually reduced just about a little over 2 billion.
Yeah.
So it is not the 6 billion reduction that he talked about.
Yeah.
It's an error. Do you?
Well, it's
see
not.
through
It's
that?
not an error.
not an error.
It was something that he did. But I think later on he was called to, obviously, by the. But what actually
But if
happened?
you say there's money and there's no money, there's a way to verify it.
No, he painted a sympathetic story to be able to get the 750 through.
I see.
And then later on, they want to walk back to the picture that they've been giving us.
Okay.
Because our reserves have really dwindled. And the reserves that they're claiming, the correction that he came to make, is not actually the reserves we have at the moment.
What is the reserve that we have?
Well, the
that you know?
reserves we have at the moment is less than 3 billion.
It's less than 3 billion.
And yes, it is basically about a month or so import cover. Not the 9.7 billion that we were told in the budget that we have 3 to 4 months import cover. That money has gone down significantly. And you know why? Because the amount of money where we get our reserves basically from is to do with our export revenue. What we export out of this country, gold, whatever, and oil, that goes there. And then we sort of beef it up with in the last 3 years or 2 years, with this Eurobond that we were getting, almost 3 billion a year coming in every year. And then we have the cocoa syndicated loan. You know, when the money comes and beef up the reserve, obviously the money will eventually go and do something, you know, project and all that. But once we are short of that reserve, it gives the confidence that we are capable of paying our debt and that we are not going to default.
That's true.
That we are capable of supporting the currency, you know, and therefore it helps, you know, hold the depreciation of the city. When you don't have the reserves, then the international community or investors will then look at you and say that, look, you are vulnerable. Therefore, looking for, especially in the situation that we're in, where we have been downgraded in the market, not only the capital market, but even other sources of getting money like the banks, the bridge loans that we are going for, it may affect the rates and everything that we get. So we have not been able to really halt the depreciation of the city because we don't have enough reserves to do that. And when we use the reserves we have at the moment, we will not be able to replenish the reserves. So and then at the same time, the payment of our debt, and that is the external debt. At the moment, our external debt is about 27 billion. Now, the problem or what we intend to do, the money will be used later. This 750, I can tell you, will go straight into the reserves.
The 750 will not be used to fund these projects I just outlined.
Immediately. Because the reserves are so low that we need to put some water in the bucket.
And you say it's less than 3 billion?
Yes.
In fact, the latest bank, not to interrupt you, the latest Bank of Ghana summary of economic and financial data, I have that document.
Yeah.
Said the gross international reserves, according to the Bank of Ghana data, $7.68 billion. This is equivalent to 3.4 months of import cover.
Right.
So that's consistent with something you mentioned. But this is as at March 2022, the country's reserves stood at 8.8 billion, which is about 3.9 months of import cover.
Yeah.
But if you look at the net international reserves, it fell to $3.58 billion in June 2022, as against the $5.13 billion in March 2022.
Yeah.
So the Bank of Ghana is being consistent with the correction that Kwaku Kwarteng made. The chairman of the finance committee made
Kwaku
was now 7.6
was not wrong. What he said was not. As I said, he was trying to paint a sympathetic story. So he picked the net reserves.
The net reserves
instead of the gross reserves.
The gross reserves.
To show that
because the net reserves is indeed $3.5 billion.
So he said he used the gross of 2021 as 9.7 and say it has dropped to a net of 3 billion.
I see.
So it looks as if it has dropped quite significantly. But if he had taken gross and compared it with gross, it would be about 9 to like 6 billion.
Yes, that's what the Bank of Ghana data says.
Yes.
And then
the net of 7, what is it called?
The net was 5.13 billion in March.
Yeah.
And now in June it fell to 3.58 billion.
Yeah. So this is where he painted a distorted story. Okay, and it gave the impression we have people looking at net and gross that our reserve had dropped significantly.
Right.
But he was doing that, and he's been a deputy minister of finance. He was doing that to support the case why we should approve. And he went on further to say that if we don't receive that 750, we will not even be able to pay salaries.
Indeed.
Okay.
I remember that.
So it was a sympathetic picture he was painting. But then the powers be called him and say, hey, if you put us in that position, it means that this economy is about to collapse. Because that figure,
it's dangerous.
If you do a net analysis of our assets and liabilities of the country, that makes Ghana bankrupt. So they need to walk back and come up with this thing that, oh, it was a correction, error, and all that, and this happened. It's unfortunate that this was not picked up, at the committee before it even came, to the plenary. So this is the kind of situation that we are facing at the moment. But I'm telling you that the picture I see and the reason I knew we would be going to an IMF is based on the fact that, during the e-levy time, I said that this government's biggest e-levy will be the least of their problems, because it looks as if they had not seen where the problem was at the time. Their problem was not to do with getting liquidity alone in this economy, but actually the most dangerous part, which may mean a default and a complete collapse of the economy, is with the balance of payment. And that is why IMF has come in.
Right.
And because if you are not getting your 3 billion you are getting every year to prop up your reserves, if you are not getting the cocoa syndication the way you used to come, then it means you have no way of replenishing the reserves. Therefore, the Intervention Bank of Ghana needs to address the currency problem. They are not able to do it. And we also stand the danger of, we have to pay about 37 billion this year on repaying of our debt alone.
That's the interest on the loan?
Yeah, that's the interest on the loans. Look, between the time the budget was read, which our debt was around 27 billion US dollars, which translated to about 163 billion Ghana cedis. Our debt has increased without any borrowing, if you take, by 60 billion, just because of exchange rate. The external debt now, the 27 billion, if you convert it at the time, which is November, it's 163 billion. When you convert it today, it's 223 billion. So without any borrowing, this is the problem that the exchange rate is causing us. And that is why the government needs to address, forget about this Ukraine-Russia thing. There are things that we can do. Because otherwise, if you look at your debt in cedi terms, it has actually ballooned. So if it is important that you're able to get foreign currency to service your external debt than to try and look for e-levy and convert it to pay your external debt, because you will be increasing the exchange rate situation. And that is why I'm saying that it was the least of their problem. But they were not focusing on that. They spent all the time fighting us on the e-levy when they should have addressed that. So the IMF was inevitable. It was only a matter of time. So now that the IMF, we can't get a program. The problem here, why I say this 750 is not going to any of the things they've told us. We cannot get a program. The earliest we'll get a program will be in January 2023, if we are lucky.
That's the IMF program,
yes,
which is going to come with some financial component to it.
But the financial component for which we went to IMF, which we need immediately, will not be available until then. Therefore, we need bridge loans to support the economy. So what we are taking at the moment, the 250, for instance, would be a bridge loan. The 750 was already in the budget, but the 250 is not. And they will need it when they come for media review. And I believe they will represent it and correct all those 50 million or whatever they were trying to use in paying insurance and all that. So this money will not end up where we have been told. But we have to be responsible citizens to approve that 750. Otherwise, this economy will collapse.
Honorable Papi Akobe, that's worrying. If these projects are not financed with this amount, if what the Honorable Rikitegan is saying is anything to go by, you sat through Parliament. you monitored the process and the concerns that were raised, and if the eventual amendments, and now this 750 that has been approved, and the picture that the Honorable Ricky Tegan, who's a member of the Finance Committee, has painted as well. What do you have to say about this?
Yeah, thank you very much. First and foremost, I support, it was not only the minority that requested that the 250 application be withdrawn. It is not only the minority.
I see. Some majority MPs
also,
as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because,
That's true.
yes, because myself, I even told them, I'm not a member of the committee, but I remember walking in and sharing this opinion.
I see.
Because it was not captured in the budget. And, you know, it's not a sort of a chicken and egg. One must go before the other. The budget must come with a justification for and the need before we apply for it. But you cannot apply for it and later on come back to justify it. Assuming you are not able to justify the request, what would have happened? So I am in support of the withdrawal of the 250 so that we put our house in order, bring out the program of application, come to do a justification, do a distribution that sits well with Parliament. So we either approve of it or reject it. So I am with them. It is not a one-sided decision. It's a decision from both sides.
That's pretty interesting.
We are beginning to act well as Parliament. So I'm very happy that we were able on that occasion to call for a withdrawal.
Yeah, some majority MPs actually supported that. Look, this
Of course,
$250 million
and we are not saying that we will not approve it. We are saying that come back properly and come and put a justification to it. Then we can determine whether or not it is proper to approve.
We'll be back next week.
So, well, when they come back next week, we don't have to approach it with a partisan approach. Let's look at it. We all agree that at this present time, the country, just like any other country in the world, is facing some challenges. So once we have that realization and it is across board, let's see how to come out of it. So when they come back next week, they will do another report to justify it. The Finance Committee will look at it and see. Some of us will also follow them and also bring in inputs. Then it comes back and we will look at it holistically. What I pray happen in Parliament is that we are not in normal times for us to be able to come into the arguments with partisan considerations. We are not. If we take that approach and see each other as enemies, all of us will sing together. So now we have to see ourselves as brothers coming out of a hole. And this hole was not created by, by human beings' expectations. This hole, we all find ourselves as having been created by international phenomenon that we are part. So when we have been hit by a foreign object, let's find a way of defending ourselves in unity. So this distribution of the 750, this is the proposal that has been presented to us. I know also of the fiscal challenges that we face. And when you have debt to pay and you have revenue coming in, revenue that you may have budgeted for something else, you have also expectation of revenue to come to follow up to complement that which you have in hand. And these debts are in emergency. It needs to be serviced. I don't see anything wrong in you taking part of this to service this immediate one, because the longer it stays, the more the interest you have to pay, so that you have expectation of this inflow. So you can also, put that money on top of what you have taken from here to service the projects that you have outlined. All that I want to see is that at the end of the day, these outlined projects are delivered as per the amount of money. And I expect that Finance Ministry will also monitor the inflows and make sure that whichever they would have taken out of the 750 will be put back there so that we can deliver these projects. I appreciate some of the projects have already been captured under previous budgets. But you will see from there that It is completion of, which means that the budgetary allocation to it was inadequate. And therefore, we need more to be able to deliver the project in whole. That's all there is. It is not to say that we are duplicating, no. It says that, yes, we have given some money for this project. Yes, these monies have been seen and found to be inadequate.
But there are some as well where the money hasn't come.
Yes,
So those ones have
if the money hasn't come, it has been approved. And the money, just like as I was explaining, the money hasn't come. Project is hanging. We need to complete it. Therefore, and to be honest with you, as far as I'm concerned, I don't agree to multiple projects when previous ones have not been delivered. So I am from a school of thought that says that you pick one, deliver it, then pick two. But concurrent projects, with none of them being finished, I disapprove of that. So if we are expecting some monies that are not coming, and we have a project that is hanging, and we need another source of funding, except that when the other first source provides for the revenue, we must make sure that it is religiously applied to a project that it will be relevant at the time that the money is coming. So then it becomes, no, don't hope. It is your responsibility as a committee of parliament.
It's your government.
Listen. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not partisan. I'm not partisan in discussion.
To make sure the money is the executive.
But your duty as a parliament,
we will do that
as a committee of parliament, is to also diligently follow how that money is applied.
And I'm sure all members of parliament will do that on behalf of the Ghanaian people.
Yes, on behalf of Ghanaian people.
On both sides of the house.
So I'm pleased. Sometimes I go to the meetings, I'm not part. But if I have an issue to share, I go there. So I'm saying that him as a member and a ranking member as such.
The executive should get the right
let me tell you, we don't have control over executive as individuals, as individual members. So I cannot say the executive must have it right. I don't go to cabinet meetings.
No, I'm talking about.
But what I'm saying is that where we have capacity to perform, let us be seen to be performing to the expectation of the Ghanaian people. So when the executive brings that second tranche, it's your responsibility as a committee, and indeed you work for all of us.
So that of the whole parliament.
Yes, but I'm saying it is your immediate responsibility to work and make sure that we follow that tranche and make sure it delivers what we expect it to deliver. So that we all support you as a total parliament.
I find it pretty interesting and complimentary, at least, that both sides of the house agreed that the terms of this 250 million loan is not good. And so the finance ministry should go back, address the issues that some members of the MPP, including, in fact, the MPP MPs, including yourself, raised. Why don't we see that play out in other things that comes before the House, so that we see so entrenched partisan positions to the detriment of the Ghanaian people? For instance, what we saw play out in the E-levy when there are real concerns raised by the minority.
Good.
We have seen this House playing out.
You are coming. You are saying that we are not saying that the terms, or we didn't even address the terms. We are saying that it is premature. The application for the 250 is premature because you haven't done what is expected of you to be able to justify that. Not that we are saying that the terms are not good. We are saying do the right thing and come back and let's consider. Number two, you are raising a very important and interesting subject. Why are we divided in our effort as a nation to generate revenue? In fact, revenue to be generated from any process will not be to the benefit of a section of Ghanaians. It's to the benefit of all Ghanaians. So I was extremely surprised when the government was trying to raise revenue through the e-levy. And indeed, the e-levy platform, it is not, the contributors generally are people that are probably not even Ghanaians. The e-levy platform, if you look at it, the component of it that comes into the e-levy, that is expected to come into the e-levy port. A lot of them come from also the telcos. And I didn't understand why we are trying to raise money for our economy, and part of us will say, look, let it not happen. So and indeed, there was so much, listen, there was so much propaganda about it, negative propaganda. But
So do you see just all the concerns that were raised, you see it as negative propaganda? None of them actually make sense.
Listen. I'm not saying that issues ought not to be addressed. But what I expected was that this part of it is bad. Let's address it. That part of it, holistically, so that we come. But some of the propaganda was that it was needless, it was bad, it was. You see, the government ought to be innovative at various times. And then we come to a crisis situation and we're trying to raise revenue. Indeed, I will not support the people who were demonstrating against the introduction of VAT. I did not support, I will not support at any time.
I see. That was the Kume one.
Yes,
with the president leading.
Some of the people who were opposing the e-levy were citing that example that when it came to VAT, people, what was wrong then cannot be right now.
Indeed.
So I'm saying that let's begin to think as nationals, pursuing national objectives. And when it happens like that, when your opponent politically is also doing something that is good for the nation, support, because it is for a nation that you will probably sometime in future inherit.
The levy was a bad tax yesterday. It's a bad tax today. It will be a bad tax tomorrow.
Thank you. Dr. Rashid Draman, I bring you in at this point because of the
levy was in their manifesto.
About, for instance,
that's not true.
On what we saw with this
$250
million loan that was not rejected, but the finance ministry being asked to go back, do the right thing, come back, in the interest of the people. Doc.
Yes, Alfred. I mean, as I listen to the two honorable members, I get quite disturbed about what is coming out of Parliament.
Why?
First of all, I see an effort here, I mean, from the two sides, very laudable, I mean, to rescue our economy and avoid a total collapse and so on. But I also see beneath what is happening, there are very serious problems. It looks like we are postponing the current challenges that we have. And these challenges are going to come back sooner rather than later to bite us. And little wonder, I think our country has gone to the IMF 17 times. Look, as I listen to the honorable members and then I reflect on the work that we do with Parliament, first of all, over the years, Alfred, I think one of the weakest links in our Parliament, in the role that Parliament plays, is oversight and specifically financial oversight of the executive. I mean, there's data. We have done some studies in the past. And at one time, we compared Ghana with 7 other countries, and Ghana was last.
Ghana was last in that ranking.
Yes.
Oversight.
In oversight, financial oversight.
Financial oversight.
Financial oversight.
That's Ghana's parliament.
Yes, Ghana's parliament. And when you hear what is happening now, for instance, we are going for this loan. Parliament is supposed to provide oversight. One of the key ingredients for oversight is that once Parliament issues its intent, legislative intent has to be strictly obeyed by the executive. If we say we are approving 750 million, and we know that the money is not going directly to the projects immediately, and is going to be used for something else, that is where we begin to have problems. We don't know how long this is going to take. We don't know when we are going to have money. And then we continue to have maybe some rolling effects. And eventually, we don't even know whether once maybe government gets money, this 750 million, which will be used to support balance of payments, will be sent back to the projects. Because over the years also, follow-up when it comes to oversight by our parliament has been very weak. Follow-up has been very, very weak.
I mean, to follow through to know that this is the money we approved for this project, and that is what has been spent on the specific project.
Because we don't do, first of all, there are challenges with data integrity. We don't do an audit to see, okay, we approved this amount of money. Government is coming back. We have heard completion of the flower pot project, completion of various projects. Has Parliament done any audit to see exactly
How much has been expended?
how much has been expended, where the projects are, before giving approval to some of these loans that are before the House? Again, Alfred, I mean, these are some of the things that we are dealing with. Just this week, we had a program in Parliament, a data fair, where we're talking about, the need for Parliament's decisions, all decisions, to be informed by evidence and by data.
Verifiable.
Verifiable data. Otherwise, you'll be making decisions that are wrong, that are fundamentally wrong, and you are only postponing your problems. I hear these arguments about, what is the level of our reserves, the chairman of the finance committee coming back and saying, I made a mistake and so on. The question is, what is the oversight role of Parliament over the Bank of Ghana? In some countries, a few years ago, when England was looking for a governor for the central bank, they went and hired a former Canadian central bank governor and brought him to England to oversee the finances of the country, because they didn't want to do any politics with that. So that at all times, look, let's give the clear and clean state of the economy. But if we have situations like at one point, we don't even know what our reserves are, we don't know what the figures are, Alfred, I think that we are really digging ourselves into very, very serious problems. And I think that is the role of Parliament. Yes, we need to save the economy now. We don't want, as the minority leader said, we don't want a Sri Lanka situation here in Ghana. But you can avoid it now. You might be postponing it, and it's going to come back to haunt us very, very soon if things are not done properly. Honorable here talked about multiple projects and so on, and that's what we are seeing. Over the years, sometimes you see, one project appearing in the budget continuously for about 10, 15 years. And it all speaks to Parliament's lack of follow-through, lack of effective oversight, and lack of follow-up to see this was our intent when we voted for this amount of money for this project. Now you are coming back. Let's go and see what exactly has been done before we give any approval to any subsequent additional resources. And most of the time, these things are not done. We saw over the years a situation where what has made oversight difficult has been, there are many factors, but two of them that I need to mention here. First of all, 78(1) of our constitution, the cooptation of Parliament into the executive. The second is, over the years, we have had unified governments, and here I use the term advisedly, where the party that controls the executive also controls the legislature. But in the 8th Parliament, we have seen the hung situation has started bringing out a number of issues that are giving some of us that are watching Parliament some hope. Because, look, during the budget debate recently, we saw what happened. And for me, having observed our Parliament since the 2nd Parliament, I never knew that Parliament really had those powers.
To be able to do what we're saying now.
To be able to do what we are doing now. So we are on the, if you like, a trajectory that's changing. But I think Parliament needs to do more. Otherwise, year in, year out, it will just be a question of maybe deferring some of our challenges, and then we'll come back to these challenges, very, very soon. Parliament needs to be up and doing. Parliament needs to make sure, like I was saying, the last time I heard, Parliament was trying to get the governor of the Bank of Ghana to the House. I think there were issues, and look, in this republic, there's nobody that is beyond the reach of Parliament. And if we don't take these issues seriously, cumulatively, they create problems for us. And we'll go to IMF today. I think we are going to go to IMF again very, very soon.
Dr. Rashid Draman, sounding more like a prophet this morning, but that is consistent with the position that many people have.
Can I respond to something quickly? That,
In a minute,
that he
maybe,
said?
because
Yeah,
I'll just need to go for a quick break.
Yeah,
Quick
just in a minute.
responses to share also.
It's actually to credit of Parliament. This particular Parliament, I've sat through three of them.
Yes.
This particular Parliament is probably doing much better than the previous.
Indeed, agreed.
Obviously, because of structure
Yes.
of the
And-
Parliament
yes.
as
The,
it is.
the numerical representation is
Numerical
also...
representation. There are certain things that we are hearing today. All the challenges we are having in Parliament is as a result of the balance of Parliament at the
Yes.
moment. Things like e-levy probably wouldn't have, nobody would have probably heard of e-levy
yeah.
and would have
Indeed.
just
Been
gone
approved.
through without any, but more needs to be done. I think the new standing orders that are coming will help strengthen where even new committees. There has been a problem with even providing an oversight for our economy. The ministry, and the structure is in the executive and in Parliament as well. The Ministry of Finance used to be the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning. The planning is gone. So we are financing an economy that doesn't look like it's been planned. Then when you come to Parliament, who provides an oversight for the economy itself? It's non-existent. Meaning the Finance Committee is just there for approving loans that are coming into a finance and economy that nobody is actually policing.
As a data and evidence
yes,
issues.
a new committee, which is the Economic Committee, which will be looking at impact of all these things that we do, will come. And that's where some of these issues will further be strengthened and addressed. So the whole structure itself needs to be looked at in terms of, but this Parliament has really brought a lot to light.
Indeed.
And
that's acknowledged,
Yes.
to be honest.
I
Yes.
also appreciate the contribution of Doctor in respect of the role of Parliament. But Parliament itself as an institution, the capacity of Parliament itself, and our constitution and our political setups are such that we are getting people coming, going every 4 years coming. By the time you are there in 4 years, having acquired some level of experience and capacity, you are gone. The next person comes. So we will continue to have a Parliament that cannot bite because you have people. It is not easy. When I was outside, I did not see what it was for you to be a useful member of the House. There are many people who are still learning even after 4 years. So we need also to make sure that if we want our Parliament to do what we expect them to do, then we should consider who would be qualified to enter Parliament and not just to beef up the numbers. And again, when you are there, we should see whether you are trainable, and there must be opportunity to train so that you become effective and useful.
So the entry
Otherwise,
point is extremely important. Not just about quantity,
not
but the
about
quality.
quantity. It's
The
about
quality
quality.
of the
man who
legislator
is
that we
there,
have.
can he understand even the issues? Can he make a meaningful contribution? Would he be a man of integrity to be able to point out what is wrong in the system? But in most cases, you come in because sometimes you can come in through the wrong door.
Indeed.
Back door, you come in
Side door.
and side door, so that you come in and you only just make the numbers. As a parliamentarian, not an effective one. It's important.
Effective parliamentarians make up an effective parliament, indeed. We'll go for a quick break. We'll be back shortly. My guest still with me in studio. There's one project that Honorable Ketegan, I know, will be completed because of the politics around it and what we saw this week. Even if there's 750 million.
We're coming back to this.
Stay with us. This is Key Point. We will be back shortly after this quick one. But remember, we're proudly sponsored by Niche Chocolate Drink. It's the taste of Ghana. Holy Ghanaian cocoa drink. Comes in 180 Tetra Pak and this 250 ml bottle. Please go into a shop and grab the Niche Chocolate Drink and you will enjoy it. I promise you that. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Key Points on TV3. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com, also on 3FM 92.7. Acknowledge all the messages and the contributions from you, our viewers. We're very, very interactive, and thank you so much for airing your views. I still have Dr. Rashid Draman, Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, with us in studio. The Honorable Kweku George Rickett Hagan is a Member of Parliament for Cape Coast South, and the Honorable Andy Kwame Apiakubi is a Member of Parliament for Asante Achim North, and also a private legal practitioner. Let me just say also that Honorable Kweku Rickett Hagan is a former Deputy Finance Minister. He is Deputy Ranking Member of the Finance Committee of Parliament, and that's why this particular loan issue...
Actually a friend of the committee.
A friend of the committee, I beg your pardon, and this loan issue came up, and we had to get into
only
it.
a friend.
Now,
Okay.
even though the Honorable Rickett Hagan is talking about the possibility that this $750 million Afrexim Bank loan facility that has been approved by Parliament may not go into the projects I outlined, the projects I just showed you. But there's one project. If you can kindly put the slide of the project on the screen.
Please, point of correction. He said that it may not go there immediately.
Immediately. with all
Not
due
that
respect.
it will
Immediately.
go there.
Immediately. But these projects, some of them are needed immediately. Take a look at this. The Swami Interchange and Local Road Network project is needed immediately.
Yes.
$47 million.
I agree with you.
That is needed
Maybe I
immediately.
should have said with the
With the exception of the Swami. And here's the reason why. I'll show you this. And the members of that constituency, the youth there, they decided that, look, the frustration is unbearable. They decided to go on a demonstration, demand of their member of parliament, who is the majority leader of parliament, served for 26 years as a member of parliament, to go by what he said he was going to do. So this is what happened. Take a look.
The Member of Parliament for Swami and Majority Leader, Osei Mensah Bonsu. Monday, July 3rd itself, when the Member of Parliament for Swami and Majority Leader, Osei Mensah Bonsu, was pelted with sachet water during a visit to Swami Magazine, Monday, July 18th. Itself, when the Member of Parliament for Swami and Majority Leader, Osei Mensah Bonsu, was pelted with sachet water during a visit to Swami Magazine, Monday, July 18th. Though more than 50% of internal roads within the constituency have been fixed.
So that's the majority leader. You saw that then, the sachet water bags that were flying all over the place. But we spoke to him in an exclusive interview. He said he was not going to contest 2024, but there was a process in place to actually address the constituency issues. Take a listen.
Against Mensah Bonsu, but against the system, because when we asked them, somebody said that he is from Offenso South, the roads are bad, and government has neglected them for more than 20 years. We are not doing as if they are not part of Ghana. So they want me to go and tell government, through me to government, that the roads at Offenso South need to be attended to. The other one related to Offenso North. Another one also mentioned a particular community, also in Kwabre, this time Kwabre West, that is Atimetim. They are not part of my constituency. I would say that along the line, degenerated into people saying that away with MPP, away with Mensah Bonsu, away with the president, and so on and so forth. What they didn't know was that this thing, we had started working earnestly on it more than a year, 2 years ago. And it yielded dividends. And
Well, that's the majority leader of Osei Mensah Bonsu, MP for Swami. Now, that incident has generated conversation about the failures of our democracy and the members of parliament just telling the people what they want to hear so they vote for them, because if they actually tell the constituents that, look, we are agents of development and we are not responsible for direct development, who is going to vote for somebody who says, I'm only going to lobby for you to get a road? Have they brought this upon themselves as MPs? I have MPs on both sides of the House with me here. How do you react to what we saw? And this goes to both of you before Dr. Rashid Draman.
Well, you can say that to an extent we have brought this upon ourselves. And again, it's not the fault of us currently, but it's probably something that has been going on for quite some time. It is difficult in our part of the world where we are still a developing country, we are still relatively poor country, where you are elected as a legislature, but you are also in a way a development agent, which you are actually not. And that you are expected to lobby, which is done elsewhere as well, but it is more looking like you are the one responsible for. You know, what you don't hear much of as an MP is that the people who are actually responsible for development, which is your MCs, your DCs, and many times people don't even mention their names or not even mention them about certain things, that whatever happens in one's constituency, they are always calling the MP. But the resident person,
The MMDC.
the MMDCs and all that, who are responsible for actually development and control the budget, be it common fund or whatever fund that they get, MPs have a very small,
5%.
5%. So 95% is actually sitting with people who are actually responsible for development, but then but again, as I
The
said,
MCs are appointed. You are elected, so you have to go to the people.
Exactly. That's where the difference is. That's where the difference is. And that is why I have in the past supported different form of bringing these MCs and DCs in. Because nobody elects them. And they control 95% of the budget that should do your development. And the people who control 5% are the ones that are elected. And whenever there is a problem, they are the ones who have to bear, the branch of it. So we need to, I think MPs need to be rescued, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the MPs need to be rescued.
In a sense that, you have people probably, campaigning in people's constituencies right now, trying to replace them, saying things that they clearly cannot do. Okay? And so if somebody goes back and say that, oh, well, this is not my job or whatever, then obviously you are not going to get there. That's why Parliament keeps changing. The institutional memory that we are losing in Parliament is as a result of this very system, where people go one term and then the day you are elected is the same day that people start to, want to remove you, and going around saying things that they have no idea how it even works. We cannot be yes. And maybe all hands are not the same. Some MPs are in a better position financially themselves, and they want to do certain things. There are people in society who are not MPs, who contribute to their communities.
Indeed.
Okay, so, and even people started by contributing to their communities and eventually decide that, look, if I'm doing this for my community and the person who is responsible to do it is not doing it, then maybe I should replace them in Parliament to do that. Until they get to Parliament and realize that the story is not the way they saw it when they were outside. So this issue of the responsibility of an MP needs to be clearer and clearer to our people. But the lobbying thing is there. There are 4 categories of MPs. A category of MP who is a minister is one category, who, of course, can lobby better than the second category. The second category is MPs in government. And then you have the third category of MPs, and this is MPs on opposition but are in leadership. Then there is the category of the backbenchers. All these 4 categories have different strength of lobbying.
Right.
Okay? So,
So the bank benchers are.
so if you look at the likes of Chairman Sabosu, who is in the executive, He's what is it called? Minister of Parliamentary Affairs.
Indeed.
So people may look at him and say, oh, he's been there for 20-something years, and then we haven't seen much, or we haven't seen what we want to see. Because they see him now, though all the 20 whatever years he was not in government.
Indeed, yes.
But they see him now that he's in a position to be able to do more. You see somebody who is an MP and not in government, and you go to the constituency and there are people trying to remove him. They say, oh, this one, he went to parliament, they didn't give him anything.
Are you facing that challenge yourself?
If I go, no, I've been getting things. So and I've been getting things done. But you cannot do as much as you can. What you can do in government is different from what you can do in opposition. Because in government, as I said, you've got to look at the category where you belong to. If you were a minister, it's a give and take. You can, like Deputy Minister of Finance, they are doing roads. Obviously, the roads will be financed by the ministry.
Indeed.
So the road minister comes and you lobby for
your constituency,
and you get some roads done. We all do that. Okay? Somebody in another category cannot have the opportunity to do that no matter their lobbying skills. So these are the challenges that are being faced. So if one MP is able to do something in their constituency, and most of the time we the MPs, we like talking as well, and we are marketing ourselves. So I've done this in my, and nobody knows how you did it. But then your constituent expect that once this one has done this, you should also be able to do that. But all the hands are not equal. And the structure of government itself is a problem. And the way we look at our MPs, I mean, I have never heard of any MP anywhere, in the developed economies where you have people chasing up their MP that the roads in their constituency, you don't even know who your MP is.
I see. So thank you. Kokoro Hagan says MPs have brought this upon themselves, but they need a rescue. They need to be rescued. I'll go for this 1 minute break. When I come back, I'll go to Dr. Rashid Rahman and round up with the Honorable Appiah Kobe. Stay with us. Welcome back to Key Point. The Honorable Appiah Kobe, on this particular issue, you brought this upon yourselves. You need a rescue. But what has to be done?
My brother, the laws of the country, the Constitution and the supporting laws indicate the rules for public persons. And indeed, as my brother said, the development of communities rests with the assemblies and the assembly's leadership. Mm-hmm. Parliamentarians have a duty to come to parliament, legislate, do the lobbying, and also police government, public purse, and other things. In fact, by the laws of the country, MPs are not supposed to be effective development agents, but we only reserve the responsibility of lobbying for projects. Now, you may have lobbied for a project, but you don't finance it. So more or less, you don't control it. Indeed, in my particular case, there is a road in my constituency, Asante Achim Jansa, Domiabra Road. Contract has been signed, but financing is the problem. Now I'm trying to even arrange financing for the contractor.
I see.
I've tried to invite even a foreign financier to come and finance it. The company is in Ghana right now. And this is beyond the call of duty, because it is not my responsibility. But it so happens that because of lack of understanding of roads, people expect you to be even financing the road. It is impossible.
So you brought it upon yourself. You have to do it.
No, it is the expectation of the people.
But
so if
what did you tell them?
I have told them that I have delivered. I can only lobby up to the point of the government awarding a contract. But I see that the contract has been awarded months back. No show. So I need to associate myself with the contractor so that we can bring financing to support the project. Yet I am being blamed for delaying the project. Now, if we want the MPs to be the agents of development, let our laws and our systems show that, so that the resources will be placed in the hands of the MPs to do the development. As my brother said, The money is with the assemblies. It cannot be the case that the MPs will be responsible. But as I've said, albeit now, what happened in Swami cannot be right. Maybe we can take part of the problem. Maybe we are not communicating well. We are not explaining to the people what has been achieved, why we have not gotten what we are expecting, how we need them to even support us in our agitation for more. Maybe we have to communicate better. We have to educate more. But to the extent that you want to threaten the life of an MP, that is criminal. That is dangerous. That cannot be right. So we have to educate them to see that, well, even in the face of all the adversity in your pursuit of development, you don't have a right to attack anybody, be it the development agent or the representative in parliament. It cannot be right.
Mr. Archie, please.
Yes, Alfred.
You've been consistent on this matter.
Yes, thank you very much. I think what has happened to my very good friend Honorable Osei Mensah Bonsu is quite sad, and it brings out, the issue of where we place an emphasis in terms of the kind of qualities that we are looking for.
Indeed.
In an MP, because by far he is one of the best MPs that we have. In terms of the knowledge of the issues, of course, also longevity in the House. It helps. But we have seen that it looks like the people of Swami don't appreciate that. What they want to see is more of what is happening in terms of development in the community.
But does that not go down to the root of the problem? So the people don't form expectations in oblivion. They form expectations based on what they are told.
Yeah, exactly.
You cannot
and I'm
blame
coming to
them
that,
for
Alfred. And I'm coming to that. And that is really, there are two issues here. We have to look at them very deep. First of all, I think let's take maybe the government. This is a stronghold of the government in power today. And there were a lot of promises that were made. And I can see some kind of sense of entitlement here that, look, this is our stronghold. And if there's going to be any development in this country, it has to start from here. One, number Honorable Riket Higgins. I think, first of all, they need to rescue themselves. I have heard in a Southern African country one time we had a program, and these same issues were being discussed. And then one MP said, if I don't make the promise, my opponent will go and make the promise, and then they will vote for him. Right. And we heard the MPs here telling us, even as they are sitting here, somebody is in their constituency.
Somebody bought cows and presented cows to various communities in my constituency.
During the Sanla
that he will continue to provide cows when he is rather elected. How can you do that?
Alfred,
cows.
So I think,
and this is a public officer,
wow,
a public servant, buying about 28 cows.
So there are two issues. There are two key issues here, Alfred. I think that we need to we need a lot of voter education, so that if our citizenry, our compatriots, are very much alive to what the real responsibilities of an MP is, then I think when they mount the platform and they start making those pronouncements, there and then they will be stopped. Because like Honorable Riket Higgins said, you don't see this in developed economies. Yes, you see this here. It's just because of our station in life. People are battling with basic needs issues. Indeed. And the person that they see, we don't elect MCs, we don't elect DCs. So you are the one who has put yourself in the ring that I want to be elected and I want to bring development to you. So that's why they follow you. And so we need to really change that structure. And that's why many people, yes, that's why many people are saying if we were electing the DCEs,
absolutely,
then I think that's going to change.
You agree with me, but you blocked it.
That's going to change this. And then I think the other thing is perhaps maybe we have to also look at the competitive nature of our electoral system, and then see. I don't know whether they will agree to a ceasefire where when they are starting the campaign, I mean, there are rules of engagement of, I mean, all the candidates to say, look, when we mount platforms, don't say A, B, C, D, because that's not what we are going to be elected
Able
for.
to do.
Able to do.
Yes.
I wonder whether this is possible, but I think...
No, there is a vetting system within the selection process. And the people who constitute the executive committee, they should look at some of these things and see the people who are promising that which they cannot deliver, disqualify them.
Right on. Dr. Rashid, you round up.
Yeah, so I think the point is it's really quite difficult, and again, I think what's happening here goes beyond our borders. So let's not be oblivious of the fact that this is just unique to Ghana. You go to even our neighboring countries, you go to Burkina and other places, even where MPs don't have constituencies, they face these kinds of pressures. A real problem that needs to be tackled head on if our MPs, because you see, that is why oversight is failing.
Indeed.
Because if they go and lobby these ministers, I want a project, then the minister comes to the house and there are challenges with the kind of documents that he brings there. I mean, you have no moral right to hold that minister accountable. You have gone to lobby him to take projects in your constituency. And then he comes in and there are problems. You'll be very coy. You'll be shy in terms of trying to hold him to account.
Yeah.
Dr. Rashid Draman, thank you so much. Executive Director, Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. The Honorable Andy Kwame Apiakubi is Member of Parliament for Atanti Achim North. He's also a private legal practitioner. Honorable Kweku Rickett-Hagan is a former Deputy Finance Minister and a Member of Parliament for Cape Coast South. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. And then also, those of you who watched that, appreciate your company. On behalf of the team, thank you for watching Key Point. My name is Alfred Okanse. Good morning.